Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman, your ex-ho. My guest today is Allison Fine. And remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe. Anyway, this is Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman, your ex-ho. This is my good friend Allison Fine. Hi, Allison. How are you today?
I am fine. How are you?
Good. I'm good. It's always good to be off work.
Yeah, I'm not celebrating that yet today.
Oh, okay. So, we're probably going to talk about sex today. That's kind of the point. And I kind of have, I'm still quite unsure how I'm going to go with you. So we're just going to talk about some stuff.
Okay.
All right. So, do you remember like your first sexual awakening? Like when you first realized like, oh, there's something going on that I haven't felt before, or the first time you really like got a big crush on someone and realized that there was some.
Um, I think I can say that I had a crush on like famous people for sure.
Right.
Like
Like,
I'm 44, right? So I'm the generation of 90210, and I always loved the villains. So uh I really loved Dylan from 90210. I love Donnie Wahlberg from New Kids on the Block. So I remember having like crushes and feeling attracted to them, but my parents were not very open about talking about sex, talking about anything related to that.
okay.
So I don't remember that. And I don't really remember having those feelings myself. Even when I had sex for the first time, it was more, this is just something you're supposed to do. So yeah.
Interesting. So when did you, okay, have you ever had that feeling before?
Like I'm highly sexual now, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
So
I'm
I
very
just,
pro
I didn't want
sex.
to just assume.
No. I
Yeah.
Yes, I have all of that now, but that was stuff that I just had to learn through experience. A lot of it, I think,
Right.
there was no birds and the bees conversation at all that I can remember. It wasn't don't do this or do that. It was just no conversation at all.
Interesting. So did you see your parents be affectionate with each other?
No,
None
no.
of
I remember like I'm not gonna bust my mom out and because she's still alive, but I
that.
remember finding my dad's porn like in the closet, in the top of the closet. Um, but I don't my parents were not really affectionate towards each other. My parents are the oldest in their families. My dad is the oldest of 8 Catholic kids. I've learned later in life that, some things may have happened with him. Um, Not in what people would think, actually, not like, not in the Catholic priest kind of way.
Right.
Actually, I've learned it was a different situation actually with a woman that might have taken advantage of him.
Uh,
Um, I couldn't tell you, but I can imagine my grandparents on my mom's side were not very open about those things. So my parents, I don't think were raised in very, open, expressive spaces like that. And then they didn't raise me like that. And I'm the oldest grandchild. So they're the oldest of their families. I'm the oldest of my family. I just don't think the tools were available to have those discussions. And
mhm.
then when I did start having crushes, even on famous people, like I would get a poster for my room, but I would never be like, oh my God, he's so cute. Like that was just never my personality though.
Mhm.
So I was never swooning over anybody. Um, Very different, I think, now. Um, I may not be as expressive about it, but I think I have, I definitely have those feelings. And then, um, I, yeah, I don't
Okay, let
remember
me
my
let me
parents being
ask you
like that.
this. What do you think would have been different about your life if your parents had been open about sex?
I think I might have made better choices. I mean, when you're not being informed at home, but you spend a lot of times, in other people's homes or in the streets with your friends or whatever, then you're informed by whatever that looks like, right? I
Right.
grew up in the Bay Area, but most of my adolescence was in Southern California. So I grew up with rap music that was very sexually explicit, and um, I had some friends that were a little bit older, so we hung out with older men. I might have made better decisions back then. At the same time, I will say, like, me and a group of friends, I don't even remember if I was sexually active at the time. I think I was. We made a pact, and it was not just girls, it was girls and guys. And we went to like the local clinic, and we all got tested for HIV one time, and we all got condoms one time, but that was all secret. Like, that was behind all of our parents' backs. So I think that probably just came out of straight school, like sex ed. But I think if my parents would have been more open, maybe I would have made better choices early on.
Right. So, do you feel like you make better choice? Do you make good choices about men now, do you think? Or whoever you date?
Um, I have, I think I've had cycles, I suppose. I've been married twice. I'm also bisexual, so I've been with women. Um, I've been with women with my partners, without my partners, but um, I think it kind of depends on where my head is at. I think just to give history, like when I was in the streets, when I say that, when I like was hanging out with other people, a lot of the time that was with dudes. Like, I had a lot of guy friends.
Mhm.
So I learned a lot of their bad habits. Or it was with girls who were kind of tough. So I didn't have a lot of cheerleader friends who were like, "Oh my god, I just want to suck his dick in the back of the car." Like, those are not my friends. Not that they were doing that, because a lot of my friends had babies in high school, but
Mhm.
those were not the primary people I was hanging out with. So I think nowadays it just depends on where I'm at in life. There are definitely times where uh, I want to meet a partner. I've been through a lot of trauma, which also affects that. And there are times where I'm like, no, I just want someone to have fun with. So
Mhm.
sometimes I make good choices, is the short answer to that question.
I get it. It's hard, and it's hard. I mean, I found, I was single for 49 years. So I was with Noah's dad, but it for 10 years, but that was like big on and off. But I
Yeah,
don't even really count that as a real relationship.
yeah.
But I totally forgot the point that I was making when was I talking.
Well, we were saying, like, sometimes I make good choices,
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
I don't.
And so sometimes you think like, okay, this person, like he's a nice person, just you want like a booty call with him or whatever, friends with benefits, whatever you call it. And then they turned out to be a real asshole. And it's like, I'm just playing with you here. Like, I'm not
Right,
going to try to get anything from you. Why you got to do me like that?
right. I mean, I think that's a thing. That's something I experienced very early on. I was, and maybe these are similar experiences. I don't know, but, and it is interesting because we're generationally different,
Mm.
right? You're somewhat older than me, a couple years, um, and for me, I grew up with no like sexual conversations in my household, no sort of understanding of that. Very awkward. I was 5'10" in eighth grade, so I was taller than the boys back then. I was very skinny as a little girl, but I started gaining weight when I was in fourth grade. Even though I played soccer, I was very active. So I was then I became like the fat girl, and like nowadays these girls like fat girls are cute and they have their little bellies out everywhere, but that's not the way that we did it
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was growing up. And then I choose to hung out with guys. So I had that sort of, I learned that mentality from them, almost that dog mentality. And so it became difficult for me to navigate men. Like I did fall in love with my first boyfriend when I was 17. And he was actually somebody I knew from like 11 on, and we just kind of went separate ways. And then we came together, fell in love, and then he cheated on me. And he was living with me and my family at the time. So my heart was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a series of cycles like that. When it comes to sex specifically, though, I will say, like, I married my first husband, who was great in so many ways, but our sex life is trash. And at the time, I didn't think it was that big of a deal because he checked all these other boxes. And I was like, oh, I've had plenty of sex. I was,
Yeah, well, what was trash
over.
about it? Like specific.
He was very selfish.
Okay.
He was very selfish. He had an ex-girlfriend who was also queer, but I think she always had like a girlfriend on the side. So like they had a lot of threesomes, and I feel like he didn't feel like he had to do anything. And at first I thought, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And we were together for a very long time. After that, I was like, never again. Like I realized how much sex is important.
Mm-hmm.
And never again will I be with a partner that is not a good match for me. But these are all sort of awakenings I had later in life, because
right.
When I was younger, it was a very different story.
What is your definition of amazing sex?
I think you have to have some sort of a connection. And I've had, one night stands that I felt connected to. So connection is a very broad term.
Right.
It could just be purely that physical connection, but some sort of a connection. And then like a lack of selfishness is a really big thing. Like if a man finishes quickly and doesn't care about whether you finished or not, like that's a problem to me. So he should facilitate that no matter what. I had a partner recently for a long time who was amazing in bed. And part of that was because he always made sure that I was taken care of no matter what. And so that was important. And that kind of spoiled me. So now I sort of expect it.
Right. I just don't get the ones that don't do that. Like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Oh, I get it. I get it if you're just trying to fuck me tonight, but don't think you're gonna fuck me tomorrow. I think that's where that comes from. And it also goes back, there's generational issues and there's issues, among cultures and things like that. But my thing is this: back in the day, I think that men, if they were fucking a fat girl, like lots of men wanted to fuck me. They didn't want to always date me and they didn't always want to be seen with me, right? But they wanted to fuck me. And I think that they thought they were doing me a service by having sex with me. Now, for a long time, I thought, well, if I sleep with someone, then they'll like me, right? And that was a very unhealthy way to think. So I unlearned that behavior, and then I developed some other bad behaviors. But I think men think that they're doing us a service by having sex with us. And what they don't realize is, like, I could fuck all your friends too. And I could, there's no problem getting any
it's
kind of.
It's not hard to find someone to have sex with when you're a big woman at all. And as a matter of fact, I would go out with my skinny girlfriends and I would always be the one to get hit on. And they'd always like, why do we go out with you? Like, how does this happen?
Period. I always had the finest partners, like even if they were just boyfriends or even if they were just guys I was kind of seeing. I never fuck with ugly dudes. I never fuck with ugly dudes. But that doesn't mean they were treating me right. You know what I'm saying? There was a whole slew of other issues behind the scenes. But in terms of like getting dick, that was never a problem.
Right. How often do you like to have sex?
I don't know. It depends on how my knees feel and my back. I think I mean, I guess I could probably do it. I don't know. I'm 44. Isn't this like ripe age for this shit? I don't know. I could probably do it 5 days a week at least. As long as that's probably more like with a committed partner. I think if it was just somebody that I would like a fling, once or twice a week, I could take care of myself the other days. Sometimes
Right.
it's a lot of effort. So,
I
but
know.
yeah, I mean, I like sex. I'm super sex positive, and because I've gotten over a lot of the stuff that I don't want to call it even stigma, but the things I thought were negative or some of the bad habits I had or whatever.
I don't remember what we were talking about when we lost our connection.
We were talking about, oh, you had asked me how many times a week sex is.
Okay. Okay. What's your favorite porn category, or what's your go-to right now?
Lesbian, always lesbian. I mean, I'm queer, but I've always, I didn't come out as queer openly until I was like 40. But I don't really like dudes in porn at all.
Yeah, I know.
I don't
I
know
get
why.
that.
It's funny because I most of my partners are men, but I don't like men in porn.
Well, for one thing, and this is just me, but for one thing, it's the way they treat women in porn that I don't like. Like
Yeah.
I just don't like it. So I avoid porn a lot because of like the name calling and the physical,
Yeah, I don't want any of
like
that.
that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not like
Not that they don't have that. I mean, they have that with women too, but um, I don't know. Sorry, I was scratching my leg. They definitely have that with women, but for me, I'm just more attracted to lesbians, I guess. I don't know.
well, we have prettier bodies than men do. So, are you comfortable in your body?
That's a horrible question for me. That's a really hard question to answer for me, especially now. I've never been very comfortable with it. Um, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I had a gastric bypass. So I lost like 150 pounds initially or so, 160 pounds. Much more comfortable than I ever was. Um, then there's still parts of my body I wanted to change. And then 4 years ago, as you know, 4 years ago, my ex-husband, who was mentally ill using drugs, had a psychotic break. It stabbed me 9 times, and most of that was in my chest to my waist. So now I joke about it and say I look like I dated Wolverine because I have all these scars, right? So it's like I feel like I look better than I ever have my entire life. Even like my face, like I look at some people my age and I'm like, you're how old? Because I'm 44, almost 45, and I see 35-year-olds that are not as well put together as I am. Don't have as their skin is fucked up, whatever. So I'm comfortable in some ways. Um, I'm still. I feel like the last few years have been weird, just because I have all these scars. Um, But I also had a partner for a good part of that. Like about a year after I got stabbed, I had a partner for, 3 years. And so I guess it wasn't a concern. Now that I'm dating again, feels weird. And now that I'm dating a lot of younger guys hit on me. And I'm not against that, but I'm like, can you handle the trauma understanding of that? It's a deep fucking seated issue. So I don't know. I think I'm comfortable the second time with someone. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And now, I mean, I had a revision on my bypass just because, I had kept off a lot of weight, but I lost another like 40 pounds. But now I have like, my stomach that I want to get rid of. And I think a plastic surgeon, can help with that. So that might make me feel that bad. All that to say, I also don't stress too much over it. I
Right.
don't, uh, I see skinny friends and the way they obsess about their bodies. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then, especially with social media, and you see what other people are going through, the skinniest, prettiest people in the world get treated just like I do. We all get dogged out by our partners. We all go through the same shit. So I think when I was growing up, and when you were growing up, you only had the awareness of what was going on in your like immediate friend group or the people that you were immediately being touched by, on a day-to-day basis. And oftentimes they say you have to be skinny and pretty to be loved. And now, ain't none of us getting loved properly. or we all can get loved, right? Because there are big women, there are people with no teeth in the front that have long-term partners, people that we would say conventionally are not attractive that have partners. And there are beautiful people who are dogged out every fucking day. So I think that because I pay attention to all of that, I think the playing field is a lot more level now. And I don't worry about it as much. I'm like, hey, if you're fucking with me, you must see something in me. And no, I don't have any money for you. Fuck off. So.
All right. So here's what I'm curious about you, because I see you as a very headstrong woman.
What?
Oh, please. And does that translate into the bedroom? Like, are you dominant during sex or in a relationship? Or are you able to be soft?
Oh, I can be very soft. I would prefer to be soft, honestly. I have a lot of leadership roles, just being a single mom, and a single mom who chose to be a single mom of a special needs, young adult who will always need support. Which again, you're very familiar with that. I mean, I guess you didn't choose to, but that is a leadership role I'll never be able to fully give up. Right, is being a mom and being a hands-on mom. I have a lot of leadership roles that I've had over the years, and people often see me as sort of a boss figure. But I would like my partner to take care of me. That doesn't mean that I can't be that way in the bedroom, but like, am I like into dominatrix shit? No. People used to think that all the time, and I'm like, no, it's just not. That's not even really who my personality is. I prefer being taken care of, and I can be very submissive at times. I'll say this about my second husband, the one who hurt me. He was really keyed into my emotions, and so he would see when I'm stressing out, or he would see when I'm having a hard time, and he would take my phone, give me a drink or give me a blunt to smoke and be like, no, we're not doing this tonight. And he would like force me to relax. And for me, that was a really great way to take care of me. And that translated into the bedroom as well, I suppose. But yeah, I'm not really dominant like that in the bedroom.
Okay. Well, good. Now I don't have to have sex with you to find out. Just told me. I don't even know where that came from.
It's funny how the world, it makes us feel so bad about our bodies, but it's in our minds, we think we know what the world loves, but the reality is there are beautiful women in the world that have complete body dysmorphia still. The women that we were like, I wish I looked like her. and they're like, I wish I looked like someone else, right? So no different than, you know, my hair is, like I told you, I'm growing it out and it's super curly and people are always like, oh my God, do you get perms? I'm like, no, bitch, I'm born with this. But I spent years straightening my hair, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah, you always want what you can't get or whatever.
absolutely. So I think about that, like
What
with
you
my
don't.
body, you know, I don't like, I love having sex. I don't like having new partners. But for that piece, not even for the sex piece. Sex is fun, but it's for the like, what are they going to say when they see my scars? At this point in life, you know? So nothing could have prepared me for this shit. So,
So, do you have anything on your sexual bucket list?
I don't, you know, I, as far as sex specifically, I think finding another partner that we can have a third that makes sense. Because now, you know, there's a whole movement, and my guess is at some point you will, you know, interview someone that is, you know, ethically non-monogamous, which to me is just everybody can fuck everybody and you're not cheating. Like we're just taking cheating out of it and we're saying we're just open to it, right? I don't want to be ethically non-monogamous.
Right.
That's not my thing. But would I like to have a partner that I'm solid with, a male partner probably, that we can have a female partner? Yes. And I don't mean like a sister wife. I just mean someone to have fun with.
Or just like a intermittent
Yeah.
or all the time partner.
But that is such a complex thing because you have to be solid with your partner. When you tell a man that you're queer, that you like women, oftentimes they're like, ooh. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Like, I'm not just fucking you and some bitch. Like, no. That means, you know, there's for me, there's a trust that you have to have with your partner because you have to know that they're not going to go behind your back and like contact that person, and they have to know that you're not going to do that. So it takes a while to get to that point. So if I could get back to that point, I've been there with other partners. Like that would be good. I think that would be good. I've had a lot of sex. I've done a lot of things. I think because I come off as sort of momish, sometimes people that I don't talk about sex a lot. I think that might surprise people. There's not a lot on my bucket list.
I see the freak in you. Like I felt that between, you know, like, yeah, I get
I'm a
you.
Libra.
Right?
I'm a Libra. And if you read
Yeah.
up on what Libras are like,
Mm-hmm.
that's very true. And I've also, for the most part, with the exception of my first husband, I've always been in relationships that had really good sex lives. And like I said, after my first husband, and there's no shade to him. I mean, I hope he's with a partner now that they're satisfying each other fine. But I realized I will never settle again. So that's been a priority for me. Is I don't have a problem having sex early on when you meet somebody because I'm like, if you're trash, this will never work. Which, you know, some people feel some kind of way about, but whatever.
Right. Okay. Well, we've been at this 40 minutes. Let's say if there's anything else. Is there anything else is there anything that you want to bring up that I didn't touch on? Let me
No,
just
I think
ask
it's
you this. Can I just ask you this? Okay. So I don't even want to say I'm bi or even bi curious, but I do find women's bodies physically attractive.
what part?
Every part. So, but
That's a
like,
cop out.
no, I mean, really, their women's bodies are beautiful. And
You're not more attracted to like boobs than you are butts or
Oh, I'm a boob person, I guess, just because I have boobs. So, I noticed.
We know.
Um, but what am I trying to say here? Like I've always like thought, like, I'll carry it through and go, okay, well, what if I was gonna have sex with a woman? How would I go about it? Or what would I do? Like, how do you go from the place of deciding that you're attracted to women to actually becoming a bisexual person? I know I didn't say that right, but yeah, I think you get what I mean.
No, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, like I said, I've known since I was very young, like late teens, that I liked girls, but I acted on it. I think the first time I was maybe 19, and that just kind of happened naturally. Like it was me and a friend, and we were hanging at my house. I was in college. I was 19, so I was in college, and that just kind of happened. It wasn't something that was planned. Um, Strangely enough, I'm more attracted to like more masculine women, which is funny because a lot of women think that I'm masculine, um, but I'm really not. Like they're um, I I've always had such a big body, even though I'm much thinner than I have ever been. I'm still, a big woman, and still have broad shoulders and big feet and big hands. So people assume that I'm masculine, but I prefer like butch women probably more than anything. Um, and they tend to kind of fill the stereotypical sort of male, you know, role, like they will initiate things like that. So um, I think if you let yourself just sort of go with the flow, then it will happen. Like if you make yourself available and say, yes, this is something I'm interested in, or yes, I want to explore these feelings, then then you meet the right person and they will guide you through that. But you have to be willing to do it, and also be willing to know when it doesn't feel good or it feels weird, and maybe you want to stop, or maybe you just want to take a break, or maybe you want to try something else, things like that. So, but
That might help somebody who's watching this.
yeah, I mean, I think people should be okay with being whoever they are.
Right.
Period. Um, I think generationally, young people now are much more okay than they ever have been. But at the same time, young people are still committing suicide because their families are not accepting of who they are. Young people are still getting kicked out of their houses because they are someone that their parents didn't envision for them.
Mhm.
Um, Trans women, especially trans women of color, are being executed in this country, being hidden. There's a politician in South Dakota, North Dakota, who's being silenced by her legislature because she's a trans woman, and they're literally not allowing her to speak, and she's elected into those positions. So we have a long ways to go on one hand, but the other side of that is, I think that being sexually open and exploring your gender, exploring your sexuality, that is something that is more accepted than it's ever been, right? So I don't ever want to say like this is the way the world is, because there's still a dark side. There's still a
Right.
dark side to the world. Um, but it's much more open than it's ever been. I will also say to women that are older, if you have had those feelings and you just never explored them, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And um, it's probably a little more difficult when you're in a monogamous relationship, especially a long one, and your partner's not open to that. That's really tough. But I do think you have to be authentically who you are, and um, don't die regretting something. Um, and you never know where you're gonna go. So I would say, carpe diem, I suppose, and do what makes you feel good, um, even if that's exploring something new.
All right. So where do you meet people now to date?
Um, I don't know. It depends. I mean, online a lot, just because it's probably the most convenient. Doing comedy the last couple of years, definitely people will hit on me, or um, I think I'm not very aware when people do. A lot of times people tell me later, like, oh yeah, I tried to talk to you back then, or oh, I thought you were cute then. Um, I people are intimidated by me, period. Men, women, whatever. So I think sometimes people don't approach me right away. It takes a while for me to figure out something. Um, so I also try and keep my life very private in that way. I don't. Um, I might have. I might bring a bunch of different people around, but you'll never know if that person's just my friend, if it's a lover, if it's somebody that I'm dating regularly. Um, I've also, I mean, very recently in the last year, I've been okay with being alone and not meeting anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I might talk to a lot of people online just to feel people out, but the older I get, the muddier the dating pool gets, and it's very annoying. I have been talking to somebody recently uh, who I met online. He's a lot younger than me, but he's very, very, very mature, and we'll see where that goes. But my ex, I knew him in real life. We were on kind of participated in some activities together years ago, and but he had a partner back then. I knew her too, and then years went by. We ended up kind of running into each other again, and I was like, "Oh, how's your partner?" He's like, "Oh, we broke up." And then he ended up asking me out, and we ended up being together for a few years. So I guess various places, online more than anything,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is annoying. But like right now, look at my life. I work full time. I have a kid, and like I used to do politics 4 or 5 nights a week. Now I do comedy 4 or 5 nights a
Mm-hmm.
week. There's no the comedy scene is. I'm not fucking someone in the comedy scene. So when do I ever get out enough to meet somebody?
Right.
Kind of makes it difficult.
All right. Well,
Very much makes it difficult.
would you what about like a fan? Someone that came to see you at shows and thought you were really funny, and then
Yeah, for sure.
why not, right?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I just have such a different mindset about sex. I mean, that's what we talked about initially when I said I wanted to come on the show, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
angle. And I had said, like, for me, the angle was that growing up when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I felt like you had to have sex with someone because that's how they would learn to love you. And that was just my low self-esteem talking. But
Right.
then as I got older and I grew out of that, then I think that part, like where I grew up with a lot of dudes, I was kind of raised by wolves in that, in that way. And then there was a switch where all of a sudden, like I wasn't even interested in really dating guys. I would just, if I was sleeping with them, that's all it was for, and I would dog them the fuck out, and they got their feelings hurt, and I
Mm.
didn't care at the time, and I don't, and that wasn't healthy either. Neither one of those were
Was
healthy
that like a, I'll do
behaviors.
it to you before you do it to me?
I think in some ways, or it's just like me finding my power, and I
Mm.
think that sleeping with someone. I mean, we didn't talk about this, but I lost my virginity to like I grew up as a white girl. Most of my friends were black. Uh, they were this particular group of friends that I was with all the time. They used to hang out with some guys that went to the junior college in my area, played football or basketball. So they were a couple years older than us, not much. I was 16, he was 18. Um, but this was the one white boy that hung out with all the black football players. We was a football player too. And our friends just said, "Oh, you obviously should." You know what I'm saying? And I went over one night and I think I probably drank Kool-Aid with vodka in it, and it happened, and it was absolutely not momentous at all, and terrible. Um, but that started like you're just you do what you're supposed to do because society says you're supposed to do it. Like you're 16 now, he's cute, you're cute. That's the only white boy I've ever been with my entire life. I was not attracted to white men. I've never been attracted to white men outside of Donnie Wahlberg, Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp. Like, but society said we should, so we did. And now, I think I did that for a long time because I had self-esteem issues, bad ones. And then, I think I flipped the script and was like, I'm gonna do it to you so you don't hurt me, which is just a whole nother unhealthy set of coping skills. And now I do what I want because I want to. And if I don't want to, I don't. And if I love it, then it's great. I don't feel bad about it either way.
There are some really great things about getting older. Learning yourself and finding yourself is freaking amazing.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that lately, even though I'm having some hard times in my life. Like right now, there's so much about my life. I mean, starting comedy, you've been through it. Like starting comedy, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure. It's just a lot. And I took on some abnormally big roles starting the mic collective, things like that. But I've never been so happy doing something. And even though I'm having some struggles in some other areas of my life, I've never been happier in my life, I think, in most ways. I'm just more settled than I've ever been. And I'm even okay with, okay with not being okay. I'm okay with having a bad day or a bad week. And B, I'm trying really hard to be okay with the fact that I'm not for everyone. That's something I've always struggled with. Some people just don't like me. Some people have reasons. Some people just make up reasons. I always say, like, I don't give a fuck. I give a fuck. But I've never been so okay with like, oh, well, that's a you problem, not a me problem. And actually meaning it, not just saying it, but actually meaning it. So growing older has definitely afforded me those opportunities. But everything, remember at the beginning we were talking about growing up and how like I'm the oldest kid, I'm the oldest grandchild, my parents were the oldest, right? So everything was new. I still feel that way because my parents were married until my dad died. Like these are uncharted territories. Like my family has had very little divorce in it. Nobody in the family openly has had a lifestyle like mine. So I'm still at 44 figuring out my way on my own and not really having a guide, except the people around me that I value and I can trust and I look towards as mentors in different spaces. And the fact that I have a pretty good gut. And I'm a pretty good people read. But I'm still, these are uncharted territories.
But you're not playing it safe. You're adventuring. So
Yes, I am. And for the comedy, comedy, which is how we really met. I mean, my daughter's, been involved in Special Olympics, and so are you and Dave. And you were the one that told me that Dave was her aide back in the day. But we really met through comedy, and comedy is the first time in my life I'm doing something that's serving me. Everything I've ever done has been in the service of someone else. When I did politics, it was running campaigns for other people. It was supporting an organization that supported, candidates. Being a teacher is not self-serving. Being a social worker is not self-serving.
Right.
I ran nothing I've done career-wise or personally have been about me. And it's funny because even then, with the Open Mic Collective, I'm still serving the community. It's just a different community. But this is still centered on me. And it's times where, like right now, like I have all of these dates lined up for all of these really good shows. And people have been behind the scenes like, how did you do that? Like, you haven't been doing this very long. Give me some tips. And I'm like, I can't give you a tip on how to be me. Like, I can tell you kind of what I did. It's really just about being authentic, putting yourself out there, talking to people, figuring out who to listen to and who not to listen to. But taking that back to our topic, here with sex, same thing. I don't give a fuck what people think. I could fuck nobody for a year, or I could fuck a different dude every single day of the year, or a different person every day of the year, and I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks anymore.
Good for you.
Because it's about me.
Well, that's a good line to end it on. So, where can people find you, like on social media?
The best place to find me actually is through my comedy pages now. It's Facebook and Instagram are where I'm more than anywhere, and that's at Allie, ALLI, Real Funny AF. So Allie, Real Funny, Allison Fine, or as fuck, whatever you want. Allie, Real Funny AF. I have a TikTok. It's Mother of Fire 2378, I think, but I'm switching that. So follow me on Instagram, and then from there you can follow me. Also follow the Open Mic Collective. We do shows and mics. I'm really proud of that group. So follow the Open Mic Collective PNW. Don't follow me to work. Don't follow me to work.
All right. Well, thank you. It was good talking to you.
Thank you.
As always.